Welcome back. It's that time of the week. It's time for another episode of The Secret Diaries of a Gay Gynecologist in Paris, a memoir. Yes, you heard right, a memoir by Rafael Herrero, MD, PhD. The Secret Diaries of a Gay Gynecologist in Paris by Rafael Herrero, MD, PhD. Caution: may contain adult language. Part 1. Love. Benjamin Franklin, in a letter to a friend in America, from France, wrote, "On this side of the water, one really doesn't understand anything." Chapter 2. Paname. Paris, for the locals. My Parisian reality started on a Spanish island in the Mediterranean, Ibiza. I was just one more body in the cram-packed sand of Ibiza's largest nudist beach, Escavallette. Of course, in its gay sector. A kaleidoscope of outstretched towels paved the burning white sand. Although it was a clothing-optional beach, there were more designer sunglasses and haute couture swimsuits than at a Dolce & Gabbana summer fashion show. Eurotrash music blasted from the wooden decks in the geranium-laced beach bar, El Chiringuay. On a mound in the middle of the beach, a muscle Mary from New York pranced to the music with a rainbow flag big enough for an American football stadium. But the focus of my attention was a guy on a towel 3 feet away from me. He was giving me the eye. I could hear the loud snaps of the silk flag over the music in the scorching air, but my mind was silenced by the cool blue eyes staring at me. Strong legs, broad shoulders, a curvaceous ass, and lots of long, dirty blonde hair. He lay on his emerald green chevignon towel pretending to sleep. Eyes half closed, he was quite clearly sending me 220 volts. I tried my hardest to let him know I felt the same. I feigned confidence and beamed back lasers through my lashes. But nothing. I took my earphones off, hoping he would take his cue. Nothing. I sat up and, noticing a sea blue Gauloise pack on his towel, I pulled out my Marlboro lights. For 10 minutes, I pretended to search for a lighter. Nothing. About halfway through the cigarette, he finally lit one as well. He smoked it calmly, aloofly, exchanging glances with me and the bobbing yachts in the water. He finished it and crushed the filter into the sand and got up. He shook the sand off his legs, tanned skin with glistening blonde hairs, and put on leather sandals. He strutted up to the water, and after scanning the horizon, sauntered away along the shore. After 20 steps, he turned around and smiled at me. He wants me to follow. That's it. He's probably too shy to strike up a conversation with all these gossipy gay guys around. Fair enough. Needs a calmer area to chat. Come on, get up and follow him. I did. Down the beach to a dry, rocky cape separating the straight nude beach from the gay enclave. The man with the long, dirty blonde hair turned into the cape, climbed its jagged rocks towards a calm inland area with tall bushes. He turned around, making sure I was in tow. I followed him into the thicket. His name was André. Tu devrais venir passer un mois avec moi à Paris, he said. Come spend a month with me in Paris, he said towards the end of the week of our last day together in Ibiza. A month together? Wouldn't that be great? I almost dropped my mojito. A month? Well, he said, if the idea is that repulsive. Ah, no, c'est pas ça du tout, I said. It's not that at all. It's just that I've already used up all my vacation time, and I'm finishing up my residency in December. Ask for a rotation in Paris, he said. Write to some hospitals there. Make it a part of your training. A few days later, I rode away to a dozen hospitals I'd never even heard of in Paris and waited. One letter came back, said yes, they'd accept me for November. I scrambled to get my hospital's teaching committee to validate the rotation I'd been granted somewhere in Paris, a place I'd never even heard of, in the French capital. A month in Paris would be considered work. Why hadn't I come up with this great idea? It would be another international notch in the training I'd been able to assemble for myself over the years. I'd been lucky enough to train in hospitals in the United States, in places like Georgetown and the Bay Area, and in Europe, from Madrid in Spain to Uppsala in Sweden, and even in a university hospital on another island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, Mallorca. Now I'd be spending a month at the Centre Hospitalier Saint-Cyprien, a humongous university hospital complex next to Place de la Bastille, right smack in the middle of Paris. A few months later, I was on a plane to the French capital to spend a month with the guy I had met in the thicket, André. At the end of my rotation in November, at a small table with sepia paper plates, in a crowded brasserie on les Champs-Élysées, André put down his wine glass. He leaned over the table and squinted his steel blue eyes at me, eyes that, since we had met, had a mysterious effect on me, captivating, enigmatic, and strangely reptilian. He stuffed a forkful of croque-monsieur into his mouth. "Why don't you move here?" he said. I stared back at him, speechless. I hadn't been expecting this. As much as I loved André, he wasn't the romantic type, had not shown much emotion over the past month we'd spent together, yet now, without so much as the twitch of an eyelid, he was plunging off the high dive. "You're finishing your residency in a month," he said. "You don't have a job. Why not move to Paname?" I put my fork down next to my croque madame and took a big swig of Coke. Move to Paris? As far as my friends and family back home thought, I'd spent a month living with André while working at a hospital in Paris. Plenty of time to get to know a man in a city. I swallowed a big ball of air. I'd been so busy at the hospital, and André had been so submerged in a software program he was developing at Cigitel, that both Paris and André still remained vastly uncharted. "We can find an apartment together," he said. I looked away over his shoulder at our waiter, who had a nose buried in a Françoise Sagan paperback. A few tables away, a college student clasped the hand of a woman who could have been his university instructor and uttered imploringly, "Et demain alors?" Behind them, beyond the brasserie glass panes, the sun was sinking behind the Arc of Triomphe. André fed himself another mouthful of croque-monsieur. We'd been sleeping under the same roof, but... "Well?" he said. The man in front of me wielded a magnetic hold over me, mesmeric, like the city he lived in. A thin girl at the table to our left said into her phone, "No, but really, Sandrine, pourquoi pas?" I let go of the fuchsia paper napkin I'd been clutching. She was right. Pourquoi pas? Why not? In a month at the hospital, where I was finishing my residency, was kicking me out of the nest. My training was over. I'd be free, and I had no plans. If Paris didn't work, I could just Eurostar to London. A woman in a leaf green pencil skirt said into the phone, "I have to think of myself, you know." Mais moi aussi, I thought to myself. Me too. So far, my work had always been the black hole of my life. No escaping, no time for romance. Now, or at least in a month, I'd finally be able to experience life as a human being. Work was fine and a necessity, but love was what I really wanted from life. Finally, I'd be able to bring it to the equation. Work didn't have to eclipse everything else. I swiped my sweaty palms on the napkin. I needed to give moi and l'amour, moi and love a try. And although I hardly knew either of them, as far as candidates for my heart and my home, I could do worse than André in Paris. My boyfriend for the past months wiped his mouth. "Well, if it's really that hard for you to decide..." Down les Champs-Élysées strolled a young couple in love, a tall and thin onyx black man, and a white woman who seemed to relish wearing ivory makeup. They shared kisses as they passed pedestrians, no one even noticing them. I couldn't think of anything better than romance in this Atlantis of intellect and tolerance. I looked back at my man. André seemed a little cold, but it was obvious he was on the brink of opening the door to his heart. The senescent sun from behind the Arc of Triumph reflected on his face. André was a sexy Frenchman. And Paris, a postcard I could live in. Alors, is that no? He asked. No, I mean yes. His glacier blue eyes locked with mine, and I said, Yes, mais oui, absolument. Let's give it a go.
Eh bien voilà, mes amis, c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. That's it for today, my friends. Join me for our next show of The Secret Diaries of a Gay Gynecologist in Paris, a memoir by Rafael Herrero, MD, PhD. Contact me at Rafael Herrero, RafaelHerrero.SF, like in San Francisco, at gmail.com. Au revoir, à la semaine prochaine, et vive Paris!
If you liked today's episode, would you please like my Facebook page? Search for A Gay Gynecologist in Paris. Please give me a hand and follow me as well on Twitter at Gay Gyno Paris with no spaces between the words, and share with me all your thoughts. Thank you, and see you next week. Salut mes amis, ici le gynécologue gay de Paris, The Gay Gynecologist in Paris. Suivez-moi sur Facebook. Vous pouvez me trouver sous Gay Gynecologist Paris. Faites-moi un like, s'il vous plaît. Vous pouvez me suivre aussi sur Twitter, at Gay Gyno Paris. Ça s'appelle JAYGYNO, Paris comme la ville Paris. Répandions le bonheur et soyons tous amis sur Facebook and Twitter. Au revoir, beaucoup de bisous et à bientôt.